Hi, everyone. It took us 11 years to get here, and I am so excited. We are finally taking our overseas trip. My husband and I used to live overseas when he was in the military. We had some of the most magnificent experiences of our life. However, when we came back to the US, my husband retired, we had children, and it just never seemed like the right time. Not only that, this is always supposed to be our honeymoon, which uh, as many military wives know, 3 days after you know this circumstance, 3 days after we got married, my husband uh, was off on a flight to Korea. So we never really got a honeymoon per se, but we always said, like, traveling around was part of the honeymoon, right? Of our first year or so together. But now we finally get to go and we finally get to take our children. So this has been a long time coming, and I just wanted to kind of share this journey of how a middle class, very regular people can take a family of six to Europe. I am just so excited to share this with my children because we want them to be world class citizens, especially in this environment and in this world we're living in. We never want them to think that the end all be all is right outside their front door. So there's a couple things I want to go over. One, why we chose Portugal. Two, how we're going to get there. And three, what our plans are once we get there. Stick around and follow us on this journey. I am so excited to share this with you. So, like I said, it took us 11 years to get to this point. This was supposed to be our 5 year honeymoon. We always said we were gonna save up our money, and year 5 we were gonna go on the honeymoon we never had. Well, year 5 came around. We had a 3 year old, a 1 year old, and I was pregnant. And we were in the height of COVID, so we weren't traveling. Then year 7 comes around. We had a 5 year old, a 3 year old, a 1 year old, and I was pregnant. So we weren't traveling. Not to mention, life was happening. Life was lifing. We were not in a position to just up and go. And the original plan was always that we would leave the kids and we would go on this amazing honeymoon that we never had. Well, by the time we got to this point, we just didn't feel like we were in a position to leave our children. It just didn't feel like the right decision for us. So then we said, you know what, we're going to postpone it a little longer. We're going to save up the money and we're going to go, because the goal has always been that this trip would be paid in cash. And now we are finally there. We're hitting year 11 and we're bringing all 4 kids. So, in a area where most people have one child, maybe two, we're bringing all 4 and we're doing it alone. When we travel, our kids will be 3, 5, 7, and 9. And we felt like this was a good time to go because our 3 year old is pretty independent. She's the baby of this family, but you better not call her a baby. She's going to pull her own weight, and her personality style is the type that we can travel with her, I believe. Um, and she's going to want to carry her own bag. She's going to want to do those things. She's very independent. She's very into showing that she's a big girl. So we are going to bring a small stroller with us just to be on the safe side. But for the most part, we feel like she's going to be able to hold her own and walk and do the things that we need to do as we travel through Europe. Because if you've ever been to Europe, it's a lot of walking. One, how do we do this? Because I want to be able to set the landscape for this. We are not rich people. I am an attorney, but I'm not like an attorney like people see. I'm very much an attorney who is, one, worked a long time in nonprofit. I did veterans claims. If anybody knows about that, especially if you're doing it independently, I was a solo practitioner. You are not making a lot of money with that. Before that, I did contracts for a nonprofit, and my career has taken, my career definitely wears the signatures of a military. I don't say all that for any reason beyond I am not making the money people think. And because we've always had 4 children, we have always been a one income family. Either my husband was working or I was working. We never have almost never have had two people working at the same time. So I just want to put that in perspective. And the reason I'm putting that in perspective is because I know when I look at videos, I'm trying to see how closely these people align with what I'm doing. You know, they say, it's so easy, you can do this. And then they talk about how they came into this windfall or whatever. And so I really want people to see, like, we are not only just regular people, but we're probably like under earning for our education, our status in life, because just life transitions and family needs. And that's just a reality. And that's a reality for a lot of people. But I feel like if we can go on a trip to Europe, maybe some of the tips and things I share can help you go on a trip, if not to Europe, somewhere else, just to experience life. Our big thing with our children has never been we want them to have all the things, we want them to have all the experiences. Our thing is we'd rather actually have money than look like we have money, and we'd actually like to have experiences than to look like we can afford experiences. So we do not look the part, and we honestly don't necessarily earn the part, but we make the sacrifices so that we can have the experiences. So the first thing I did is I have always had an account that is just like the set it and forget it account. And that account has been set it, forget it. I do not memorize the password. I do not keep the password anywhere close by. I have to dig through paperwork to get to my password. No, that account does not exist. So we automatically roll just a little bit of money. Anytime we have a W-2, we always roll money over into that account. Anytime we get a little extra money, we roll money into that account. And then anytime I get bonuses now, that money goes into that account. So we have been saving on and off for the better part of a decade for this trip. And I know that doesn't sound like super exciting to people, but like I said, we're very regular. Life has happened many times. And rather than us removing money from that account, we sometimes just stop contributing to that account. But that money, once it's in, it's like a vault. It doesn't come out. And so I was checking the balance around year 10. I check it about once a year, and I was like, I think we're in a position to go. And this was really exciting for us because I'm going to do a plug for our rich journey. We have been following Ahmad and Christina since before they made the announcement that they were actually retiring. I've always been like a really big fan of their strategy, and one of the reasons I started following them is because they were government workers with small children. They were like me. And so you know, they were like our family. My husband was in the military at the time, and all these people are talking about how to do fire, and it's like this single dude, this person who, you know, just all these different properties, or someone who's extremely older. Rarely do you see someone in the fire journey who's have children and then have small children and are just working some very normal jobs. And so that was why I started following them. Well, fast forward, they're living their dream, they're living their fire. I'm still following every now and again, and they started doing these classes, 365 to fire. Well, then they started doing these this conference basically where you can come explore, see Portugal, see what it's like to live there. Now Portugal, so I saw them say we are not the people, if you look at us, we're not the parent family that holidays in Europe, but we are definitely the type of family who's going to make it happen. And I would love for people to follow along. We are very middle class. Why Portugal makes sense to us in this context. Portugal, I've told you about, like, it's good for scouting, but just on a vacation point of view, Portugal makes sense to us because it's more affordable than other European destinations. They have a very strong public transportation system, which matters to us as a family of 6 because we're probably not going to rent a car. And so, because they don't really have large cars like that, and it will just be easier for us to take the public transportation. It's very culturally rich. It has a strong African heritage there. You know, Portugal is the home and the heart and the foundation of the transatlantic slave trade. So that comes with its good and its bad. There's a lot of history there, but there's also a lot of communities there. And we're excited for our children to see that. And from what I've heard from people, Portugal has really tried to reckon with its past. And I can appreciate that. So yeah, so if we can do Disney, we can do Europe. And that is what we're doing. And we are so excited. Please come along and join us.